And that is exactly why I'm calling it the compliance theater of the century. I've gone through the red lines of the statute. I've looked at the platform terms of service updates from this morning. And honestly,
it's a joke.
The 48-hour takedown promise, it's the single biggest lie sold to the American public since this whole 2026 deadline started looming. They sell it as a shield, but looking at the fine print, it's built like a sieve.
It's not just a sieve, it's a trapdoor. You're looking at the text. I'm looking at the human fallout. I had a client in my office literally yesterday afternoon, sitting in that leather chair, just shaking.
Oh, I know this story.
She thought the Take It Down Act was going to be this magic wand. She thought she could just, wave a PDF at the internet and get her life back.
Let me guess. She found out that a magic wand doesn't work when the platform's legal team decides your notice is administratively deficient because you missed a checkbox on page 4.
Worse. She's 22. Someone took a photo from her Instagram, a totally innocent beach photo, ran it through some cheap Nudify app, and blasted it across 3 different image boards. She files the notice.
Right.
She waits the 48 hours, she checks back, and it's still there.
Because compliance is just a box-checking exercise for them. But look, before we spiral, let's frame this for everyone listening. Today, we are breaking down the enforcement gaps of the Take It Down Act of 2026. We're going to explain why this law is currently failing the very people it was designed to protect.
And we need to get technical here. We need to explain why the algorithms are failing, why the legal definitions of AI are letting these creeps off the hook, and why Section 230 is still the ghost haunting this entire machine.
Okay, let's start with the headline promise. The 48-hour rule. The statute 47 U.S.C. 223 says in black and white, once a covered platform receives a valid removal request, they have 48 hours to take it down. On paper, that sounds crisp, clean. Why isn't it working?
The devil is entirely in that one word. Valid.
But isn't that just standard procedure? I mean, you have to verify the requester so you don't have people taking down their ex's content out of spite. There has to be some barrier to entry, right?
Sure, verification's fine. A physical or electronic signature, no problem. But the statute also requires the victim to provide information reasonably sufficient to locate the material.
Which means URLs.
Specific, exact URLs. And this is where the disconnect happens between the people who write the laws and how the internet actually works. For my client, she found the main post. She submitted that URL.
Okay.
But the replies, the reposts, the duplicates on the same thread, the platform rejected her notice for the duplicates because she didn't list every single separate URL for every instance of that image.
Wait, so if a thread has 50 comments and the image is reposted in comment number 12, 24, and 45, she has to list all 3 distinct anchor links?
Yes, and if she misses one,
or
if she accidentally pastes the main thread URL instead of the comment permalink,
they flag it?
It's like the notice as administratively deficient.
And the clock stops.
It doesn't just stop, it resets. You are back to hour 0. Meanwhile, the content is going viral, is being scraped, downloaded, and moved to platforms that don't give a damn about US law.
That is just weaponized bureaucracy. They're outsourcing moderation to the victim. But wait, the Act does have a provision about duplicates. It says platforms must make reasonable efforts to identify and remove known identical copies. Why isn't that catching the reposts?
Reasonable efforts. Those are the 2 most expensive words in the legal dictionary.
Because reasonable is totally subjective.
Exactly. To a platform engineer, reasonable means running a basic hashing algorithm. You take the image, you generate a digital fingerprint, a hash, and you block anything that matches that fingerprint.
Right, like photo DNA for CSAM. We've used that for years. It works.
It works for identical files. But here's the technical gap. If a user takes that AI-generated nude, puts a sepia filter on it, crops it by 10%, or even just resaves it with a slightly different compression,
the hash changes.
The cryptographic hash changes completely. So the automated system looks at the repost and says, nope, this isn't the banned image. This is a new, unique image.
Unbelievable.
And unless the platform is using advanced perceptual hashing, which actually looks at the content of the image, not the code, they miss it. And perceptual hashing is expensive. It requires more processing power. So, under the guise of reasonable efforts, they stick to the cheap tools.
And the platform just throws up its hands and says, hey, we removed the specific URL you sent us. We ran our hash check. We acted in good faith. They get their safe harbor protection, and the victim is left playing whack-a-mole with a spoon.
It is cruel. We are asking a victim who is already traumatized to stare at their own abuse, click on every single link and copy every URL just to satisfy some web form.
Let's pivot to the content itself, because the other massive failure point we're seeing involves the definition of what actually constitutes a violation. I'm talking about the AI problem.
The digital forgery definition,
Yeah.
yes.
So the statute tries to be forward-thinking. It covers digital forgeries. But I was reading the defense brief on that California case last week, and they are driving a truck right through the wording. The act says the image must be indistinguishable from an authentic visual depiction in the eyes of a reasonable person.
And there's that reasonable word again.
It's doing a lot of heavy lifting. But, okay, play defense attorney for a second. Why is this a loophole?
Because AI is still glitchy. I had a defense attorney argue this to me in a Notify app case. He pointed out that in the generated image, the victim had 6 fingers on one hand.
The classic AI hand glitch.
Right, and because of that glitch and because the lighting was a little too glossy, that sort of plastic look some AI has, he argued it wasn't indistinguishable. He said, and I quote, "No reasonable person would think this is a real photo. It's clearly synthetic. Therefore, it's not a forgery. It's art. It's parody."
Uncanny Valley art. Seriously, and did the platform buy that?
They did. They categorized it as low-quality synthetic media instead of a prohibited digital forgery. They refused the mandatory takedown.
That's infuriating. The harm has nothing to do with the pixel density. If a teenager sees that image of their classmate, they are not counting fingers. They're seeing their peer in a sexualized context. The humiliation is real, regardless of the render quality.
But the statute ties the hands of enforcement. If it's not indistinguishable, the mandatory takedown doesn't apply in the same strict way. It gives the platforms an out to treat it as offensive content rather than illegal content, which has a much slower removal timeline.
And there's another tactic I'm seeing: de-identification. The act defines an identifiable individual by face, likeness, or unique characteristics like a tattoo. But what happens when the face is gone?
This is the cropping loophole, and it is devastating in high school cases. The creeps are adapting. They'll take a real photo from a girls' volleyball game, use AI to remove the clothes, and then just crop the head off.
So technically it's just a body, no face.
It's just a body. But it's a body in that specific gym, wearing that specific uniform, with those specific sneakers, in front of that specific crowd. Everyone at the school knows who it is. The victim knows it's her. But the platform rejects the notice.
Why?
Because technically there is no face visible.
So the platform says, not an identifiable individual, not our problem.
Precisely. They adhere strictly to the text to avoid liability. And the victim is left to explain to her parents why she can't go to school, while the platform's legal team pats themselves on the back for strictly adhering to the statutory definitions.
It really all comes down to the good faith safe harbor. The act says if a platform removes content in good faith, they're immune. But if they don't remove it and they claim they were investigating, they're also usually immune.
It's a heads I win, tails you lose situation for them.
Which brings us to the elephant in the room. The real reason we were even having this conversation about loopholes instead of just suing these companies into oblivion. Section 230.
The shield that just will not die.
And I want to be crystal clear for everyone listening, because there is so much confusion here. People hear federal crime and they think civil lawsuit. The Take It Down Act creates criminal liability for the individual, right?
Yes. The creep in his basement making the fake, he's committed a felony. He can go to jail for 2 years.
But the platform, the multi-billion-dollar company hosting the image.
The act does not repeal Section 230 immunity for them, not for civil liability.
So, to put it plainly, if a platform ignores your valid notice for a week, and in that week you lose your job, your spouse leaves you, and your reputation is completely torched, you can't sue the platform for that damage.
Zero. None. There is no private right of action against the platform under this federal act.
That just seems like a massive oversight. Or, more likely, a massive concession to the tech lobby. If there's no threat of a lawsuit, what's the stick? Who enforces the 48-hour rule?
The FTC, the Federal Trade Commission. A violation of the notice and takedown rule is treated as an unfair or deceptive practice.
Okay, but let's be real. Does a 16-year-old girl call the FTC? Does she even know what the FTC is?
And even if she does, the FTC is drowning. They are overseeing, by some estimates, over 100,000 covered platforms. Every app, every forum, every single image board. They cannot police individual takedowns. They prioritize systemic failures.
So unless a platform is systematically ignoring everyone, the individual victim just gets lost in the pile.
Completely lost.
And the platforms know this. They know the FTC isn't coming for them over one missed image. So we get this delayed removal game. It reminds me of the whole Doe v. Twitter precedent.
Walk us through that, because that is the playbook they're all using now.
So the platform gets a notice. They sit on it maybe for 3 weeks. They claim they're conducting a good faith investigation into whether the image is actually a digital forgery or just art. Eventually, maybe a month later, they take it down.
But the damage is already done.
The damage is done. But because they eventually took it down, and because Section 230 protects their moderation decisions, they are untouchable. They say, look, we complied, we took it down. The delay is irrelevant to their liability shield because the federal law doesn't impose statutory damages for missed deadlines on the platform side.
It's a system that's designed to protect the pipes, not the people flowing through them.
So if you're a victim and the feds have basically handed you a paper tiger, where do you actually fight? Because you've had some success recently by ignoring Washington entirely.
You have to look at the stakes. I tell every single client, forget Washington, D.C. for a minute. Let's look at where you live.
This is the jurisdiction whiplash. Usually we want federal preemption to keep things consistent, but here, the lack of preemption is the only thing saving us.
Thank God the Takedown Act didn't include a preemption clause. That means state laws can still run concurrently. And states like California, New York, Texas, they're actually putting teeth into this.
Talk to me about the money, because that's what scares platforms. Not a stern letter from the FTC, but a line item on their quarterly report.
California is the gold standard right now. California's laws allow victims to sue for civil damages. And we aren't just talking actual damages, which are so hard to prove. I mean, how do you quantify the dollar value of shame? We were talking statutory damages.
That's the key, fixed amounts per violation.
Right. Up to $150,000 in some contexts, if you can prove malice or a specific intent to ignore the notice.
See, that changes the whole calculus. If a platform knows that ignoring a notice from a California IT address could cost them $150,000 per image, suddenly that 48-hour clock matters a lot more.
Exactly. They start to prioritize. The federal law is the floor, but the state law is the hammer. New York has similar provisions extending the right to sue for AI-generated deepfakes specifically. So my advice is always plead the state claims.
But there's a risk there, isn't there? I keep hearing chatter in the House Judiciary Committee about a moratorium.
There is. There's always this push in Congress for a moratorium on state AI regulation to prevent a so-called patchwork of laws. The tech lobby hates dealing with 50 different standards. If that happens, and if they preempt these stronger state laws with the weaker federal standard, we are in so much trouble.
That would be a disaster. It would strip the only real sword victims have. But before we wrap up, we have to touch on the black hole, the encrypted black hole.
The incidental services exception.
Right. The Act excludes email. It excludes broadband providers. That makes sense. You don't sue Verizon because someone sent a bad picture over their fiber lines. But it also has this carve-out for services where content isn't primarily user-generated in a public forum.
Which means private Telegram groups, WhatsApp chats, Signal.
The places where this stuff actually spreads the fastest.
Exactly. If a deepfake of my client is circulating in a private encrypted group chat with 500 members, the platform can just say, we can't see the content. It's end-to-end encrypted. We can't verify your notice because we literally cannot look at the image to compare it.
So the Act is effectively useless for the darkest corners of the internet. It cleans up the public square, Google results, social feeds, but the underground trading rings, untouched.
Untouched. And that's where the real reputational rot happens. It's the whisper network. It's the locker room chat. And the law hasn't figured out how to pierce that privacy veil without destroying privacy for everyone else.
It's the classic encryption debate, just with a new, horrifying payload. Okay, we've been pretty dark here, and rightly so, the landscape is messy. But we need to give listeners, especially the attorneys listening who might be dealing with this next week, some actual tactical advice. We've vented, now let's strategize. Rapid fire.
Do it.
Tip number 1, and I see people make this mistake all the time. Do not just hit report on the app immediately.
No, stop. Preserve everything. Before you submit a single thing to the platform, you take screenshots, you document timestamps, you copy the URL, you record the user profile URL, not just their display name, which they can change in 5 seconds.
Because the second you report it, if they do take it down, your evidence is gone. And if you need to sue the individual creator later, or if you need to prove to a state court that the platform delayed, you need that chain of custody.
Exactly. You are building a case file from minute 1.
Tip number 2. Stop writing notices like a victim and start writing them like a lawyer.
Yes. Do not write, "This is me, please take it down, it hurts." The algorithm doesn't care about your hurt. It scans for keywords. You have to use the statutory language. You write, "I have a good faith belief this is a non-consensual, intimate visual depiction under 47 USC 223.
Use the specific definitions we just talked about.
Use the words digital forgery if it's AI. Use the words identifiable individual. You force their legal department to look at it because now it looks like a pre-litigation notice, not just a user complaint. You trigger their compliance risk.
You make it dangerous for them to ignore you. Okay, tip number 3. Don't put all your eggs in the federal basket.
Never. File the federal notice to start the clock, sure. But immediately, and I mean immediately, look at your state claims. Look at tort law. Look at right and publicity. Look at intentional infliction of emotional distress. That is where you will find your leverage.
And frankly, that is where you might find a settlement. Because platforms hate state court discovery. They do not want to hand over their moderation logs in a California court.
They despise it. They will settle just to keep those algorithms secret.
Listen, this landscape is a mess. We are 1 year into this act being fully enforceable, and it feels like we are just finding new holes in the boat every single day.
And the Defiance Act, the one that was supposed to give victims a federal right to sue the creators directly, stalled
in the House. Which means, for now, the victims are still paying the price for the technology.
Until the platforms start bleeding money, until the cost of compliance is lower than the cost of a lawsuit, that 48-hour rule is just a suggestion. It's a polite request.
And in this town, politeness doesn't get things taken down.
No, it certainly doesn't.
All right, back to the grind. I've got a brief to write.
Now I've got a notice to file.